Now, it's fair to say that TaylorMade is a company well known for thinking outside the box when creating new products, but it's fair to say we weren't expecting something this drastic with its latest iron design for 2023. It's the TaylorMade Stealth HD iron, and it comes into the range in addition to last year's Stealth iron to offer golfers even more launch and draw bias to help them if they struggle with weak shots that finish out to the right. And it's a very unorthodox approach. You can see it here. It's an incredibly shallow face, especially in the long irons, really wide sole, a completely unconventional approach to golfers hitting more longer, more accurate shots. But the big question is, does it work? That's what we're going to try and find out in this video. We're going to test it on a launch monitor up against the Stealth iron to understand exactly what the differences are in the performance and which type of golfer might benefit from switching to an iron like this. Okay, so what has TaylorMade done with the design of this new Stealth HD iron? Well, I've got the Stealth HD 7 iron and the Stealth 7 iron from last year, and as you can see, the face on the new Stealth HD iron is a lot shallower, and the whole idea behind that is to drive the CG lower to give you more help in launching the ball a lot higher. It's a pretty radical approach to iron design in terms of achieving that. So as I mentioned, it's a very shallow face. It's almost as wide as it is tall. It's a very unorthodox design and look that you would often associate with chippers or chipping clubs around the green, those specific clubs to help golfers who've got the yips around the green. It's got a very rounded front edge and a very wide sole, which actually plays a little bit narrower than it looks because of this step down design here at the back. But all in all, at address, it's an unconventional look. There's a lot of loft on show, very wide, bags of offset. And the other thing that you'll notice at address is that it does sit significantly toe up, which is always going to promote a right to left ball flight for a right hander or get the ball turning over from right to left. So very, very different to where we were with the Stealth iron. Worth pointing out that the Stealth HD does get a bit more traditional as the irons get shorter, as the loft increases, it looks a little bit more traditional, but those longer irons in particular, kind of from 7 iron down, are drastically different from any other kind of conventional iron that you'd be used to looking down on in that game improvement space. So I think, you know, we've done a lot of talking about how this iron looks. Let's hit some shots on the launch monitor to see exactly how the performance compares between the two, but also how the iron performs when we slow our swing speed down. We know this iron is not designed for a 3-index player like me. It's designed for higher handicappers who tend to have slower swing speeds. So how does this iron perform when we slow our swing speed down versus Stealth? Because we know brands offering stronger and stronger lofts in their game improvement irons doesn't necessarily help those who are kind of force limited, who physically don't have the speed to flight the ball. Often something that's more traditionally in loft and built to help the ball launch higher, you'll get more carry distance out of that versus a stronger lofted game improvement iron. So it doesn't necessarily mean that stronger lofts equal more distance for every type of player. But let's hit some shots with both these irons, comparing the two, and then we'll slow our swing speed down to see what difference that makes. Right, so I've hit 5 shots with each of these irons. Worth pointing out before we go into the data that the Stealth HD iron has a 7 iron loft of 30 degrees, so 2 degrees weaker than the TaylorMade Stealth. We've got the numbers here, starting with the Stealth iron. You can see this club is carrying nearly 172 yards and spinning at kind of 5,400 RPM. But if we switch to the Stealth HD, unsurprisingly, it is quite a lot shorter. It's around about 9 yards shorter on average, and it's spinning up a lot more, launching a little bit higher, not as quicker off the face because of that weaker loft. But I think there's some trends here. You can see that clearly the Stealth HD is doing its job of flighting the ball a lot higher. That's the white ball flights on the left. And speaking of shot pattern, we can see over here, the shot pattern is more to the left than we were with Stealth, but what I'd say is not as far to the left as I was expecting. Looking down on that face with the toe pointing up, I was expecting the shots to start and curve a lot more left than they actually did, so I was surprised about that. And actually you can see how the dispersion pattern is pretty consistent. Other than that one I turned over quite significantly, the other shots were pretty solid and quite close to the target line, so it's definitely a very user-friendly, forgiving iron. Obviously the Stealth is obviously a very forgiving iron as well, but I was surprised at actually how straight the shots with the Stealth HD were, because in practice and hitting them on the range outdoors, the shots were turning over quite a lot more to the left. So perhaps take it with a pinch of salt, but maybe doesn't have as much left bias in as I thought, but is delivering more draw bias than the original Stealth iron. So it's clear delivery on its promise of higher launch and a more draw bias ball flight. But the big question is, how does it perform, or how does it compare when we slow our swing speed down? Would a slower swing speed golfer actually benefit or get more performance out of an HD iron versus the original Stealth? That's what we're going to try and do now in a live scenario. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to slow my swing speed down, hit a shot with each that's well struck, and hopefully we'll see variances in carry distance. They actually might kind of reverse themselves, and maybe even the Stealth HD iron could go a little bit further. Okay, so we've seen from the data on full tilt hitting these 7 irons, my swing speed is around about 85, 86 miles an hour. But now we're going to see how the carry distance compares when we slow our swings right down. So starting with the Stealth HD, going to try and slow it right down to about 65 miles an hour and see what difference the carry distance has given the differences in the construction of these heads. So starting with the Stealth HD. Right, nearly bang on there. Club speed of 64 miles an hour and a carry distance of 118 yards. You can see it went a little bit left. Shut the face a bit, which might affect the carry slightly, but let's see what the Stealth iron does at a similar speed. Oh, I think I swung that a bit too hard. 65, so slightly quicker and only 4 yards longer on average carry. So you can see when you slow your swing speed down, the difference between the 2 irons really does narrow, and actually the distance is probably quite comparable between the two club heads. So therefore, when you have a slower swing speed, the choice becomes more difficult. You've got the choice of something a bit lower spinning or something a bit higher spinning and higher launching with the Stealth HD. And I think actually slower swingers would probably benefit from switching into something a bit more user-friendly like that HD iron. It's a bit larger, it's going to get the ball up in the air a little bit easier, and you're probably not going to lose as much distance as you might think. Okay, so hopefully this comparison test gives you a flavour about what this Stealth HD iron is about and how it performs versus a more conventional game improvement iron. And yes, it is a drastic departure visually from where most game improvement irons are, but if you can get past the looks, we've seen from this test, it does deliver that extra performance of more height and more draw bias to your iron shots. And if your swing speed is slightly slower, you're really going to enjoy the performance benefits that this club offers. It's very user friendly, forgiving through the turf with that wide sole. And if you also struggle with a miss to the right, this is definitely going to help correct that. So there's a lot of benefits or positives to talk about with this Stealth HD iron. I think the looks will divide opinion, and for some it might be a step too far, but if you can get past the way they look, or you want to look down an iron that's more confidence inspiring, like a hybrid style design, you're going to enjoy what the Stealth HD iron has to offer. For a lot of golfers, it won't be as long or as powerful as the original Stealth iron, but for that golfer that struggles to flight the ball, there's an awful lot to like about this Stealth HD iron. So hopefully you enjoyed this video and it's given you a really good idea about what this Stealth HD iron has to offer. But that's all from me, from King's Golf Studio. Do click the like button if you like this video and subscribe to our channel, but I'll see you next time.